it's a browser issue.
Is on.
Sorry guys, now we're streaming.
Welcome to Game Changer Live.
Everybody.
Checking. Okay, it seems we're okay. Q, you be my guest if you want to double check, but I think we're good. Last time it was a bug, man. Come on. So welcome to live coding. So Max, sorry, I was setting this up. Can we? Do you have a video or means to show? Maybe Hiro?
Or proof. We want some proof.
Well, the
Proof.
error logs that GameChanger generates are linked in the Discord channel in the thread. I mentioned you there, Adriano. So if you check the notifications, you'll probably see the error generated when it was failing. By the way, I'm talking about the transaction that was failing. So the main was not going through. It went through all the steps, even the announcement through Unimatrix, but it failed at the very last step, verification by network, and it kept happening. So at first I thought it's probably because of stale data or something. So I tried with creating new posts, I tried with older posts, I tried with like changing some metadata information, it failed all the while. And yeah, the new user also faced the similar issue. I have not checked today if it's working now, but was failing from Saturday to Monday.
Only failing on that time gap.
Well, that's the time gap I checked, so I'm not sure if it was happening for how long. But
okay. I'm not sorry. I'm not getting the exact issue, but please, guys, take into account that we have some issues with the nodes, with the backend nodes. I was not not at home. As soon as Martin notified me about these issues, I restarted actually one of my two nodes that was causing some trouble. But still, there were some other issues on other nodes. So what I did yesterday, that I was able to just sit and work. Sorry, I was not able to focus enough on the topic, but I just spotted some issues on other nodes, and I just removed them from the list. Let's say the official list GC is using. So if you say that you have issues on a time gap, most likely it has to do with backend stuff. For constant, every time you have a constant issue, a constant bug, let's say, or issue, UX issue, whatever, maybe it's GC is front end. If you have issues that sometimes appears and then disappears, maybe it's a backend thing. It's not ideal, guys. I know. Please take this into account. We're in a path where we will be replacing and optimizing our APIs. The APIs we use for backend, So right now we are using Cardano GraphQL, and other APIs. They just to normalize and simplify this, making it more resilient and not prone to some issues depending on the deployment or whatever. I expect this to happen prior half of the year. And the good thing is that with Dandelion Lite, the project, Dandelion in general, we are adding more nodes now with better hardware. So, the more nodes and the bigger the ecosystem, we will be able to, to have better uptime. It's not that we don't have uptime, but better quality on this uptime. That's what I'm trying to say. That's my 2 cents on this.
Adriano.
Yeah.
What I've seen is that you can see a transaction, like you submit the transaction, and then the submission fails. So Okmios is receiving that transaction, and then you have a failed transaction. But if I know, you have to expand and see that it is already in error state, in red, like it's failed. It would be maybe nice that if an error occurs, that this expands. I don't know if this is possible. These are some of these UX things where it's like sometimes you're just there waiting, and it's seemingly trying to get the transaction through, but it's already failed immediately, which is then maybe giving you some wrong indication. And also, it would be nice if we have like standardized ways, like say there is the button there where you could inform the developer, or you could copy paste some standardized text, so you can analyze what happened with Ogmios, why it failed. Maybe the transaction body was wrong.
Is there
Maybe
since
it was,
ages?
the mempool was full. I don't know. You can imagine a million things.
Martin, that's being there since ages, like really since, I don't know, since 2022 maybe, or something like that. We have that. You can copy like a troubleshoot support. Sorry, report per transaction. That's there. But you're saying the first thing maybe okay needs more love, but yeah, the second one you can
Can
do
you
it.
show us?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see.
Because yeah, these are essential things for ADA moments. So you
Yeah,
can
no, that's
reassure your user. I mean, then you can just say, guys, we have it all in hand. Press this button. This is an exceptional situation. Maybe if from this error report, Hero can already say, or even Max, oh guys, we have seen this before. Yeah, Cardano is down.
that would be big.
It never happened, but it could happen. Could have our Solana moment, and they all
It was
blaming
down for like a
GameChanger.
very short period of time when you were minting.
Let me see.
We have hands.
What's up, Sudo?
Sorry, I forgot I have.
Muted.
Yeah. So, Max, you were talking about earlier about the variants on like wallet types and things like that, right? Like the next button, things of that nature. I'm gonna try to share. So I've deployed a very test version of ARP Radio. Not show you the wallet.
Yeah, cool.
Able to see that. So in the beginning, I eliminated the QR code because I'm like, that makes no sense. If you're looking on this on a mobile phone, you would have already had the link anyway. You just click it. And how would you scan a QR code on your phone? So I removed the QR code generation thing that I had there and replaced it with this top panel, which is like the create new wallet. So if they click this, I'm not going to share. It's not even
That's very cool, Sudo, I must say.
Man, thank you so much, Sudo. You rock, man. Come on, this is
So, okay, yeah, you're not seeing it, but this pops up.
So you go straight to the endpoint from GameChanger Wallet for creating a new.
Exactly. So we need to create the experience as developers ourselves, right? So this pops up a small window, a tiled window, smaller window. Granted, it's covering the node right now, or what? It might be the video streaming sometimes might. But this will open up a child window to set up your wallet first. Once this is done, you close that window. Entire screen. That's what I need.
Yeah, the leap of imagination
So
here is that
that
you take
window pops up.
Oh, sorry. I will shut up.
There's an issue with the connection, maybe, or it's
Maybe.
me.
But what this would do is go directly to the create wallet screen. So this would directly go to the, you want to create a mnemonic, Express burner wallet. Import SIP30 wallet. This takes you to the SIP30 wallet connector. Before they even connect the wallet, you instantiate all your wallet settings here. So there's an input other. So if you're just importing mnemonics or anything. Granted, I don't know what's going on with GameChanger backend right now on my computer, but granted, those would present those links directly there in child window. And then when they connect here, this directly links to the GameChanger wallet connector. And if you notice, there was a hardware wallet that checks to that it's only hardware wallet, and it removes the signs, so they users with hardware wallets can directly here.
Awesome. This is awesome.
I was thinking about this, Adriano. We don't need to check the signature. We just need to make sure the backend only receives URLs from GameChanger API. And now we can trust that GameChanger is providing the proper signatures, and we are not proof attacked from a separate place. We don't have to validate the signature. Essentially, we trust GameChanger, and we only let the API receive input from the GameChanger API. And then we could do validation signatures. But once we go here, that is the only aspect of GameChanger you as a user go to. Granted, something else happens.
Okay, so that's smart. I mean, to clarify, because I was able to read the notifications but not reply, guys. So I'm sorry. I think you, Max, or Hiro was asking about if there was a way to spoof or to try to mimic, to replicate this this behavior from GC to impersonate somebody else. To be honest, every time you have an application, even using CIP30, all the other wallets on Cardano that are not making you sign a message, you are facing the same situation. Like, if you really care about a very cryptographically secure authentication, you need to sign a message. If you can trust the origin of the message of this payload carrying the information you need to connect, like what the exact same sudo was doing here, if you're willing to trust on that, and that's okay for you, you can use that. The more secure authentication you need, the best thing you can do is to just sign a message. The same sudo, the same with you. I mean, same to you. The thing is, guys, that both of your applications, ultimately, I mean, the goal will be minting, right? Will be minting, making transactions using the user's private keys. If you have an impersonator, that thing will never happen, because nobody is going to be able to create a transaction in your behalf if you are the only, the only one having private keys. So on both models, from outside, I mean, depending on the specifics on your side, guys, but from outside, what I can say is, like, okay, maybe you can just be a bit more relaxed at the login stage, at the out stage, allowing maybe a bad actor to log in, impersonating somebody else, because the ledger is public. So also, what are you trying to hide, probably? But ultimately, what matters is when this user is going to be making a transaction, it will need the actual private keys of the real user. If for privacy preserving matters or something like that, you need a very secure authentication method, you can rely on CIP8 for signing messages. We have support on that on GC. And sudo, you already know, you can add like an extra layer of security here by encrypting part of the challenge or something else regarding this tiny auth protocol that you can create with GC to make it even more secure. So you have the tools. I mean, the tools are there. I can improve something if you need, but the tools are there, and you have from zero to hero. You have all the all the means to make it happen. Sudo, thank you. Like, thank you, man. Thank you. What you have done is beautiful. It's it should be the official. It should be an official repo, man. Come on.
Let's make it. I'm trying to get the validation on here because you're not too concerned about mints. I am very intrigued about using SIP as a replacement for OAuth.
We are missing some parts of the conversation. You said you are willing to what? Sorry.
Oh, I'm not.
Let's disable video.
Minting. It's more about using the SIP8 signing as a replacement for OAuth for the application.
Sure.
So this is why I wanted to even go as far as validate the signature server side. So even going as far as not even trusting GameChanger, I think that's a little extreme. I think for my current implementation now, it's like, okay, if I trust the signature and the payload from the GameChanger API, that already reduces the spoof vector.
It's not a bad idea, but to be honest, and because GC is a command center, like Quasar likes to say, you have an IDE, on GameChanger. So even for an advanced user don't need to hack into the JavaScript of the application to make the application make a request, for example, or a redirection, meaning that somebody can mimic that behavior. So somebody could be impersonating somebody else if you only rely on checking the origin, of the communication and the payload that is carrying. This is why I say, like, depending on how deep you want to get regarding cryptographically secure authentication here, you can get deeper or not. It depends on the use case and depends on you guys. So let me know if you get what I'm saying, but this is important. Like, you can rely on that, but it's not super secure if you really, really, really care of only authenticated users getting into your app. Guys,
Yeah.
on the street, on the other block in front, we have for example, the EVM world, where it's very common to have a DApp where you just drop an address, for example, and you can log in on a read-only mode to just watch your assets, yours or somebody else's, because the ledger is public. So this is what I'm always trying to say regarding this topic, because on other ecosystems, it's very common to have this read-only access that even somebody else, a bad actor, can use to just read information that actually is public, because everything is public on Cardano, on the ledger. We are not on midnight yet, so most of the stuff we're doing is completely open. Therefore, sometimes if you just want to sync your front end with the ledger state for showing balances or stuff like that, maybe you don't require to get deeper into CIP8, into signing messages and everything for just that. Ultimately, what matters is that when you are going to make this user make a transaction, you will be forcing the user to use his or her private keys. And there is where an impersonator dies. And that's it.
Yeah, I fully appreciate that, Adriano, and you explained that very well. Like from our side, of course, we have the ability to comment, and at the moment, that's just a mesh login. So there we have the issue where somebody could spoof and comment as a user unless we make them sign. But what I'm not familiar with yet, although I understand this risk, is how big this risk is, because I don't understand, has anybody ever managed to spoof with mesh, for example?
I think it's more of why
How do you know?
the problem of hacking it, right? It's kind of like there's nothing worth it to hackers right now to actually spoof something. I do see this as like if you're a big holder or something, maybe that you're a target in certain way. But yeah, it has to be a lucrative opportunity for people to use a hack. There are just so many hacks where people just have the bullet and the gun waiting to pull the trigger just because it's not advantageous to do it. I mean, they have every ability to hack something, waiting for that right opportunity. So I'm more concerned about it in that aspect. I think in your case, Max, minting is an aspect of user interaction, your application. For me, I want to restrict access to certain pages and certain things based on the tokens that the user has, right? So like token gating. So here I need to be sure that the person that says that they're this holder is that holder. I think there might be cases where you need that validation as well, but it might not be application scoped. Whereas me, right, I'm using this and this, the user login session is based upon this different signing. So everything in this application is dependent on that information being authenticated. In your case, I don't think you're doing a lot of the token gating or anything where you need that level of validation. That being said, to put that natively in the wallet connector, and app developers don't even have to think about that, and they know that their connections are secure, I think is the best approach.
Guys, I mean, Max, thank you, Sudo, for this. But what Max said regarding comments, regarding things that, I mean, because Max, correct me if I'm wrong, but comments, when you say comments, are not on-chain.
At the moment, no.
Okay.
I mean,
there you have a problem. Sorry, but yeah, there you have a problem. Thank you for putting this on the table. So there you have a problem. There you need to authenticate these users. There you would be needing to make a message signing for the authentication, or maybe per comment, if you want. If you want to ease the UX, probably you want just that on the authentication, like when you connect or something like that. The wallet there, like a connect stage, where you do this out, like how Sudo is solving it, but adding to that recipe a message signing with a challenge. We say challenge. On the developers say challenge, like it's like a message that has to change every time a user is trying to connect. In a way that the signed message will be unique for that user and for that exact attempt of signing in, right? There, if that signed message, it's valid, you need to check that on your backends, most likely, or maybe in a front end, but you need to check it. Then you can say, okay, this this person is who claims to be, and that's okay. And that address is the current address of the user on GC, and then you can move on.
Yeah,
Yes.
we talked about this as well, and Sudo also laid this out quite clearly. But yeah, and I appreciate that completely, Adriano. It's just that we want to be a bit of a hybrid in that we're light touch with how much we use the blockchain, as we try to use it only when it is strictly required and it adds lots of value for the user. Each individual comment is, of course, not necessarily valuable at the moment. If it was some kind of Solana type price, maybe, right? And if there was like this lower hierarchy of decentralized storage, maybe. But what we do want to be sure about is the authentication part of it. And at the moment, beyond comments, there's also going to be more utility that will bring about that might also be valuable, adding beyond just the minting of NFTs, which requires a signature. So we do seriously need to have a look at that. Well, while we're at this early stage, though, we're trying to look for a way that we don't have to redesign the entire approach. But yeah, Sudo, I see a hand up, so go ahead, Martin.
I just wanted to say I think it would be a little bit easier to implement what Cardano was saying in your literally just going to be another step. And one thing to consider is the signing doesn't include a fee. It's just a cryptographic signature based on your key, right? So this wouldn't be something that would incur a cost to the user. It would be analogous to like sign in, right? Now, if we have authentication, like on the radio application, right? The Connect wallet is in the header. That header is like global. So the state of that wallet is maintained across the entire application. So once you have a authenticated user session, you've already generated a session token. You can set that so when a user signs in to ADA Moments, they have a user session for an hour or X amount of time, right? And within that authenticated session, now they can comment, right? But see, now you've set this signing in the initial sign-in step of the Connect wallet. So they've authenticated, they've created a user session based upon this signing, and now they have a time-limited window to interact with your application, right? I think this might be the best approach, and it would be instead of your mesh wallet connector, it would be this component that we created here.
You're jumping the line.
I know, but I need to say this, please. Sudo, just say this to me. I mean, answer this. That idea is wallet side or the upside?
Is the ID is going to be a session token, but it's duplicated on the back end and the user, like a cookie. It started as a user cookie, and the upside for the token and validate it.
You mean on the upside?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I was asking myself the question: is it possible to sign something, store this key in local storage from the user browser, and also send that same identity, I don't know, to the server, and then say on the server side, I can cryptographically from the local storage be sure that this user is the one that has the browser local storage, and then I can reject any other likes from other people. So they cannot impersonate this wallet because they don't have the private key to generate that thing. But that's more something for Adriano, because he knows how you can verify something with a public key and a private key, and if the other side can also verify this.
Okay, so and I was able to share this to you both, to Sudan and Martin. Just you have the like an example implementation of CIP8 for verifying CIP8 messages by having the address, or having the key hash. You can already be checking if a CIP8 message is cryptographically, authentic or valid or not. You just need that. So if whatever you plan to do, it relies on this piece of information, you can do it completely. Probably this authentication token can just embed this signed message, maybe only a part of it. Maybe if the application knows, for example, the challenge or the full message, you can just store the signature. So the less you store, sometimes if you are really paranoid with security, it's the better. Like that, if you are removing pieces for everybody else to recreate.
For likes, you could send, like if you store the CIP8 signed thing in local storage and you copy it to the server side, every time you press a like and you send this information to the server, I mean, depending on if everything is SSL encrypted, nobody can see this secret. You can always say, oh, this like is coming from this user.
If you want to do it in the standard way, the right approach would be to make like a GWT, these authentication tokens. You will need a backend, most likely, to enforce this. But if you want to go pro, like go to a standard place that everybody will understand beyond Web3, this is the right way. Like using this CP8 standard to just issue a JWT token, and that's it, and use that for logging. Maybe using OpenAuth or something like that to have more standardization on the thing, and that would be great. And then you can plug this. I don't know. Every framework has some support for this tech. For this standard. Sudo was saying something, and I was asking if it was the upside or not, because I won't say too much because I don't want to reveal too much. But there is an idea to solve some of this stuff wallet side, but not now, guys, please. That there was an idea since ages to do something that will help in all these cases a lot. And that's all I'm going to say. So great. I was about to say, hey, Sudo, you get it, man. That was the plan. But yeah, because that's the plan. But yeah. Somebody's calling me. Wait a second.
I just have a question for everybody here, but just this might be a bit of a silly question. Sudo, please enlighten me if it is. Is if you're spoofing the stake address, is it just as easy to spoof, a certain token being inside that wallet, and then perhaps also spoofing what's the current slot number, right? So if you're requesting multiple things from the mesh connector or the connector that you've built, right? Let's say that you did a bit of a complicated request from the connector. Does that then automatically mean that you're more secure in terms of the fighting off the spoof attacker, let's say?
Well, it's very interesting that you say that, right? Because on the dandelion aspect, right? Here we say, oh, we have a dandelion node, right? But when you look at what a dandelion node is it's a Cardano node and a bunch of different APIs connected into it. So it's not like when you say, oh, what's my current balance on Cardano? This isn't something you query the blockchain for. The blockchain will tell you, oh, what are your unspent UTXOs? That's what the blockchain can tell you. But it cannot tell you balance information. So we need to query other APIs to essentially say, what are the unspent UTXOs? And let's add them all together. Oh, this must be your balance, right? And this is kind of why GovTools, Ada Stats, all of these stat websites have slightly different values, because the way that they're constructing this blockchain information is slightly different, right? So even though you're spoofing a stake address, you aren't spoofing your entire network stack on the back end, right? You have provided a address for the user account. So what does your application do with that address? Usually it takes that stake key and queries another API with that key, right? So it's not like you're querying one central service, right? You would essentially, the reason that spoofing works is because that stake address is valid. And when you query that, there's blockchain information associated with it. So imagine if you were to spoof a fake stake key that doesn't exist. Well, those APIs would present nothing then, right? So it really, short answer is it depends. It depends on what type of data you're working with, because not everything is on chain directly.
Okay, and there's no, let's say, continuous handshake that you could do with the mesh connector that would make it extremely hard to spoof. That you request slightly different things from the mesh connector as the user is in their session.
So maybe like a service aggregator where you're querying other blockchain nodes. The only thing is, if you're being Sybil attacked, it doesn't matter, because you are basically making requests out to other servers. And if you're being attacked in a Sybil attack, you're always going to ask your attackers for that information. So the best way is to have some kind of consensus to be sure that you're querying other nodes. Again, if you're not sure of what the attack is, again, if you're being Sybil attacked, how do you know that you're actually querying multiple nodes? So it's one of those situational things that it really depends on the attack vector itself. But yeah, the biggest way to do that is to actually check other nodes and make sure that they agree. Because yeah, it's interesting, consensus. People think, oh, my blockchain node has consensus. Well, it's like, not really. It received block information from other people. There's some consensus that happens in there. But how do you know that your node wasn't Sybil attacked, right? The true way is for you to query a bunch of other nodes and make sure all your nodes agree. That's where you'll really have consensus. If your node is being Sybil attacked, your idea of consensus is delusional.
Right. And I mean, you couldn't do it in such a way that you hold comments that users have made in contempt or in, let's say, in freeze mode, and that they're only published once there's this verification on the backend side. So I'm talking here about let's say the stream of requests to mesh has proven that it is reliably relaying the truth on the blockchain, and that match is being made on our backend. Therefore, this is a valid connection. Do you see what I'm
right?
Like,
yeah. So kind of how Yano was saying earlier with the what was the example he did with the challenge, right? So if you have middleware in your APIs that is injecting a challenge onto each of your calls and validating that, so like you'll have your main app, usually an API call, and middleware in between the app that's between your API and the receiving end, and then between your app and the API. Have one that's injecting the challenge, and on the other end validating it. In conjunction with just your API, there'll be middleware. How you're going to implement that's going to be interesting. State signing, so you're going to have some cryptographic means to make. Well, exactly what you're saying can be done. Seems very complex, but absolutely. I mean, there's so many people that implement things like that where, yeah, data integrity is super important.
Sorry, you're cutting out a bit for me, Sudo.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, no, there's definitely a way to do it. We just need to. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting middleware implementation.
Okay.
We would need to have more clear ideas of what the type of data you're submitting and what outside services you would need to validate against and things like that. Yeah, this isn't something uncommon in.
Yeah, it would be interesting, right? If you could ask the connector with a kind of like a webhook type situation periodically to double check, like, are you actually a good source of truth? But yeah, Adriano, you have your hand up as well, I see.
Hey guys, so I missed a bit the part, your actual concern, Max. If you can clarify that a bit. But I think Sudo made a great explanation there. I just want to add this. My 2 cents here. Like on CIP30 world, maybe mesh. I mean, I don't know exactly what are you using from mesh, but every connection from mesh library to the wallets are CIP30 most likely. So we're talking about CIP30. The thing is that if you have an attacker, an impersonator, somebody that has full control of this browser and has access to JavaScript, for example, so everybody that has access to the browser will have access to JavaScript. To be honest, to be brutally honest, you can impersonate and hack and do a lot of mess. This is why I don't like CIP30, once again, because I've seen developers relying on CIP30, even with CIP8, this message signing standard, to make authentications, authentication systems on applications, on the apps. The problem is that every single connection, every single communication that CIP30 does, actually relying on JavaScript, it's not like encrypted or not protected in any way that the user has means to control. Like it's probably plain text, most likely, or something like that. So the thing is that if you have somebody taking control of this device, it can do a lot of mess. It can impersonate anybody. What I like about GC, I'm sorry, but this is true. What I like about GC is that you literally can make a user sign on every communication you have with the wallet. You can make it super advanced in that regard. You can make a cryptographical signature on every message. Sorry, on every communication that the DApp do with the wallet. You can make the user sign it. For when the response comes back to the DApp, you know that the one that received and processed that communication was the actual user you intend to have on the other side. So this is the magic. Like the magic is by just relying on this function here, And if you see, it has two inputs, the address, because you signed based on an address, so you pass on a Cardano address. Even you can pass a stake or reward address for signing with the stake credential. And you pass the message. In this case, the message is a hash of, for example, this piece of data. Like, you have the freedom, the ability of, for example, create a very complex piece of data, hashing this into a simple hash, and then just sign that. And we are, in this case, ensuring that the name of the wallet, the address of the wallet, the public key hashes, the information of the decoded address, a legally binding text, like myself here, myself, the user of wallet, the wallet, the address, accepts to share all this information in order to connect with the DApp. Literally, like legal stuff you can embed here, and a unique identifier or whatever you want to pack here. You can have messages here, Max, like your comments. I know this is not the most beautiful UX, because of course for an every comment you will be triggering GC or whatever, but this is what you have available on GC. You can even sign every message money with the wallet. So you ensure that there is no impersonator, no man in the middle attacks or any other stuff like that. Just that. Yeah.
Okay, a question, Adriano. How can you know that if a user can not modify the code in person, right? That's just a source code for that particular action. They could, like, imagining that an advanced user who understands how this stuff work, like probably not editing the game changer itself, but modifying the script in a way that is still valid, like valid enough to impersonate some useful actions on the side.
Hiro, I'm sorry. Can you say it again? I have we always listen to you with the lower volume. sorry. Can you say it again?
Okay, so I'm saying you showed GC code for, right? And what is preventing the user from modifying the code? But modifying it in a way that the most of the data exposed that is returned from the script are intact, but they're not what they should be. For example, like with the connector, I'm requesting, for example, say the wallet information, address, stake address, whatever, and they modify it and pretend to be some different wallet.
Sure. So the thing is that you first you can encapsulate parts of this or the whole script probably with encryption, and then you pass like the password of this encryption to the user from a medium you trust, that only the user will receive it, maybe email or something like that. You can go as deep as you want. I am just throwing ideas. So first you can do that. Then something more basic. Maybe you don't encrypt anything and you let everybody to just tamper with this code and modify it. But the thing is that if you know whom to expect, this is the thing. If you know the user you are expecting to be signing this, right? Then there is no way an impersonator can sign the same thing with the right private keys, because impersonators do not have, or man in the middle or whatever, they do not have the private keys of the user. There is where it doesn't matter if people tamper with the scripts, because if you know what needs to be signed and who needs to sign cryptographically, then on your backend or on your front end, whatever, you can just do the math. You can check the cryptography behind that signature, and that's it. I've shared to Martin and and sudo a piece of like a function to allow that allows you to run this verification on this kind of messages from this standard that is CIP8. Then
Adriano,
if you implement that, you can, yeah.
I think what other moments is maybe worried about is that you tweak your moment string to be earlier than somebody else's moment string. Like, would there, say you want to block all the transactions, or you want to prevent users from tweaking their metadata so that they can steal somebody else's moment, for example.
Like a mempool, like a sort of mempool. I mean, you get the information earlier and you try to mint earlier than somebody
No,
else.
no. Say I copy somebody's photo of an
Yeah.
important situation. Say I am a photographer, and I can sell these photographs of maybe Trump tripping over and falling on his face, and I can sell that for $10,000. But somebody else copies it, and he is maybe in a later transaction, but he tweaks the moment to be in an earlier. Like, you could make the moment, like the time stamp or the string saying it's this moment. You could make that a different time, just to fool somebody. I'm just saying, would there be a way to prevent to say, this is not a valid transaction or something?
Yeah, for sure. This was my first suggestion to you guys, using Unimatrix and combining a signature from your services plus the signature of the user.
Yeah.
So there you have means to make an off-chain validation of the transaction with all the logic you want.
Yeah.
Logic that goes beyond the ledger. So because you can do the same thing with Bluetooth, but the thing is that if sometimes Bluetooth, I mean, for a smart contract to take this level of decisions, it needs to have like
super complicated.
Yeah, or like Oracle data, or at least data you trust that you have to inject as datums or something like that for the contract to take these decisions.
Yeah.
And it will get complicated, whatever. In this case, the most practical thing that I would do in your case is just this, combining a signature from at the moment's team plus the signature of the user. The
Yeah.
policy ID does not need to change for this to happen. Probably. I mean, yeah, it should, but it could not. I mean, you can find ways to do it differently. But the thing is that you can do it. You can have a policy ID like you have right now and still have the last saying on each transaction. You check the transaction through Unimatrix, and there is one missing signature from other moments. Other moments check the information on the transaction, the metadata, the timing, if it's not replicating somebody else's information.
Because you can
say yes or no, sign it or no.
If you see the transaction body on Unimatrix and you have GCScript, you can verify that GCScript and transaction body are the same.
Exactly, and you check for fees. That's right, Martin. And you can check for fees. You can check for the valid signatures. You can check for the timings. You can check for, I don't know, anything. That's the magic.
I think Other Moments is already almost there, because they have the whole implementation.
I know.
That is in the works, like that is the plan. But for the moment, that is not the biggest concern, because we have an AM hash that's cryptographically verified with the metadata information, all the information users share. So even if they try to do that, the hash will break. So
right.
The issue that we are with the impersonation stuff is most likely the comments and the likes. For example, the user could impersonate some different wallet and comment some mean things to different posts, or maybe mess with the user's moments, for example. Like, so the stake, I'm using stake address to essentially associate all the created moments to that wallet, right? So if they could somehow like impersonate that stake address, then they can pretty much get access to like somebody else's moments, and they can, yeah. Well, there is nothing destructive they can do because yeah, there is no delete operation, but they can hide that. You mint it using. Okay, that's not possible. Never mind. So yeah, the only concern is like the comments and the likes. That's off-chain data.
What about if we stack all the comments in the user's transaction when it mints a moment?
Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
like making you can just imagine you can combine a lot of comments and then you settle them later with one transaction. That would be nice. I mean, would be the most web-free or blockchain way of solving
Yeah, really, that sounds nice, but my
social
first
network.
thought as a user is like, that's annoying, like going back and forth with this flow and just to comment and see
I
the
know.
comment.
So, guys, I mean, sometimes maybe we are missing some stuff. We're not understanding the exact situation. But basically, I guess with Martin, we shared all the tools we have available for you guys to use. If you want to get super advanced with cryptography, you can even sign each message with CIP8 fully offline, but sign it. You can just sign like an authentication to ensure that at least on that moment, the guy that is sitting on the wallet on GC is the actual owner of the private keys. At least you can do that, or you cannot, and I don't know. Maybe rely on a custom hashing, obscure ID or password or whatever solution for making this possible without touching the wallet stuff, like making it super easy for the user.
Adriano, I put in the chat some libraries for JSON Web Tokens or JWTs.
Thank you.
That's a technology that already exists. I'm not sure exactly how it works exactly, but that will make sure that the server knows the client is the same thing. So that's automated libraries. If somebody signs a transaction and you know they have this JWT, so you link them up. It's very hard once you've signed it and you keep this JWT thing going to be a different user will be very difficult.
Exactly. I mean, Martin, how it works in this case, if we go on the standards, would be something like this, like the front end of other moments in combination with GC and CIP8 signing, message signing. The front end creates this JWT token, which somehow it's or it creates it, or in combination with the backend, it gets created. But the idea is that the backend has means to receive this token on every HTTP request the ADA Moments frontend makes to their own backend. So when, for example, the ADA Moments frontend calls the, for example, post message API from their own backend, on the header of that HTTP request, remember this bearer token thing that you have been reading maybe a lot of times on the examples or on working systems. There is where this token goes. So the thing is that the backend receives this token and checks with a list of active sessions, or maybe just checks the cryptography there and says, okay, this is a valid user, a valid user session. And then that message on this post, on this comment API gets approved, and the guys can just create a comment there. Fully off-chain, has almost nothing to do with Cardano, with the blockchain. That's how it would look like, the standard implementation of this system. On systems where you do not have a GC or a Web3 wallet, you, for example, use Google, you use GitHub, you use Facebook, you use I don't know, any of these social platforms to create a token in the same way, and the same thing happens. This is how, or with a password, maybe a password and a username.
I think they are all JWT implementations. I think.
Sure.
So yeah, Max, that's the libraries that work. I wouldn't, Google makes that stuff. So if good engineers have used something, just